All right, thank you to the organizers one more time. This is my first CCA, and I'm really glad I made it here. I'm regretting I didn't bring my students along from Castlegar for the trip, but hopefully next time we can get more Selkirk faculty and students attending. So I'm here today to talk about a project that we've been working on for the last 10 years. The Selkirk Geospatial Research Center and the Columbia Basin Watershed Network. And it sort of really kind of follows on nicely from Monica's presentation. This is all student work. A little bit about our organization. The Selkirk College Geospatial Research Center was established in 2004 with the Canada Foundation for Innovation grant. At the same time, we established a advanced diploma in GIS program. It's a third-year program, and then 2 years later, a bachelor's of GIS program. And so, kind of a bit unique, at least at the time, for colleges. We always had a strong connection between the teaching and learning side and the research side at Selkirk. A little bit about the region, the Columbia Basin. This is in the southeast part of BC. I'll show you a map in a little while. But it was heavily impacted by hydroelectric development in the 60s and 70s. And some of the results of that were significant losses of low elevation forests, wetlands, and lower reaches of rivers and streams. Partly to compensate and to acknowledge that in the late 90s, the Columbia Basin Trust was established by the provincial government to compensate social, cultural, and environmental impacts. And CBT has been an important funder for this work. So the Columbia Basin Watershed Network, actually the CBT helped to bring together the sort of many grassroots organizations that were already present out in the region underneath this umbrella initially. And then over the last 10 years, it's now become a society of its own. So as you can see, it's aims to be the go-to hub for mapping groups to find information, training, and connections, and to be a voice for watershed, stewardship across the basin. This is a web map that we developed a number of years ago. So this is the region. You can kind of see where we are in relation to Prince George and so forth. It's trying to show all the sort of areas of interest of all the different groups. It's a bit outdated, this map, in need of an update. But the way this program has been working is each year the CBWN puts out a call for proposals. Usually happens in the late winter. And then we get together with them and kind of look at these proposals and help scope them out and kind of refine them. And then we hire one of our students. The advanced diploma has a co-op term requirement. So we hire a student, and the student then works with these different groups as clients over the summer. These are the people who have been our students and the organizations over the last 10 years. At the beginning, we had one of our research assistants, Chris Gray, work with the groups just as sort of a pilot to make sure it all worked well that year. And then we switched to students from that point on. And as you can see, in some cases it works with a lot of different groups. These are all independent societies, or in some cases just sort of groups that are working on different projects. Because I don't have time to go through all of them, I picked a couple representative samples to sort of give you a sense of the scope of the kinds of projects that we've done, or that they've done. So first of all, Barry McLean, 2014. He worked with these three groups, the Springer Creek Restoration and Preservation Society, SRAPA, the Slocum Lake Stream Stewardship Society, and the Duhamel Watershed Society. So here's Barry with a map. So one of the things, many of the groups wanted was a large format map that they could take to meetings and things like that, put up on a wall in a town hall. And here he's with Abram Davis from SRAPA. He also did a trail map brochure. Here are the two sides of that. He's a pretty good cartographer, put a lot of time into all of these both in ARC and in Illustrator. And then with the Slocum Lake folks, they were mostly interested in kind of having a citizen science engagement project that made use of a web application. We suggested that they use iNaturalist. The student didn't have enough time to build something from scratch. And he ended up getting quite a bit of press, and the group got quite a lot of engagement with the community and quite a lot of data collected through that application. And then the third group was the Hamilton Creek Watershed. And he did do some nice, he did a whole series of maps for them, but he also did some kind of nice little electronic maps that could go in PDFs of different kinds and PowerPoints. So he did that one, sort of showing the location. He did a nice terrain stability map. That's a big concern in this region, and a watershed logging map. The second one I want to talk about is Maggie Lecoyne from last year. So she had a couple of challenging projects with the Columbia Shuswap Invasive Species Society and the Arrow Lake Stewardship Society. So in the first case, they were interested in the invasion of the Americans, as we all are, I guess. But in this case, the American bullfrog, which has been observed in Creston Valley, down near the border there, and they wanted to know how long it might take to get into their area of interest. So she did a bit of a literature review. Of course, there's lots of ways it could get there, but what she came up with was, what is its sort of natural dispersion rate, and how many years at that rate of 11.5 kilometers per year would it take to reach their area of interest. So it came up with something like 15 years maybe. Someone doesn't put it in their truck and drive it up there. But anyway, that was a useful product for them. And then the second one was this Arrow Lakes group was interested in building a 3D physical model of wetland at the end of Fox Lake, which is sort of between Slocum Lake and the cusp. You know the area. So anyway, first of all, we looked to see if there was LiDAR data in that region. Turned out part of the area was covered, but there was also a missing piece. So we decided that we could fly that with our drones and use photogrammetry and structure for motion to get a point cloud for that piece as well. So we did that. Maggie was the observer, not the pilot in that case. And we collected that data, then it was processed, then went to one of our colleagues who operates out of the Midas lab in Trail, and he built this 45 by 24 inch foam model of that wetland. So that's my talk. I just have a 10-minute talk for you here at the end. I want to thank all of the students that have been part of this kind of ongoing project over the last decade, and the Columbia Basin Watershed Network and CBT for the funds. If you want to see more of these maps, you can access them all through a lot of the products as PDFs, both at the Watershed Network's website and at our SGRC website as well. Thank you very much.